Thanks again it's great to be speaking to you for the second time this conference, and today about a topic that is of particular interest to me as it's part of my role within the FESPA organisation. I want to start just with a quote that I learned only last week, which is, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." You know, we know that heavy industries, steel, concrete, agriculture, fashion, many industries have a greater single impact, but I think what we've seen today is from Fabio speaking from Marabou, that in the supplier side, that there's innovation coming, that there are new novel materials and chemistries that are helping to resolve the problems for printers. And then Ranya's presentation was amazing and very clear in the requirements from the customer side to do better both socially, environmentally, and of course we have to meet the economic, commercial requirements at the same time. So my presentation is entitled Creating Lasting Impact, How Purpose-Driven and Transparent Management Prepares Printers for a Sustainable World. And of course I should say, Kalimera. For those of you who were here yesterday, I apologise because I'm now going to repeat a bit about who I am and where I'm from. And I'd like to thank Kimon, Maria and the FESPA Hellas team and the wider SEPC group for their continuing efforts to create these conference events that I'm sure we'll all agree have been very stimulating and thought-provoking. So thank you. It's wonderful to be in my role as head of associations at FESPA and the link between our associations and FESPA globally. It's a great honour for me, genuinely. We have, of course, 37 association members internationally, supporting printers in graphics, signage and textile markets using wide format inkjet and screen printing. That's our heartland, of which you're all a part. So a little bit about me. I know you won't be able to believe this, but I've been a printer for 40 years. It only looks like 5, but... we do believe it. Thank you. I'm very passionate for print. I've had a very interesting career involved in sales, production, management, in printing in a range of different market areas. So I've worked in high street retail graphics production. I've worked in the industrial production of military electronics in the flexible printed circuit industry. I've worked in T-shirt printing, and yeah, just the thing I love about screen and digital is that it has offered so much variety and creative potential over this many years that I've been involved. I'm a member of the senior management team at FESPA, and I'm responsible for the associations team and for technical guidance within the organisation on a day-to-day basis. I am officially a geek. More recently, I've taken responsibility for sustainability within FESPA, and I'm already on the journey of carbon footprinting our HQ operations, implementing a sustainable events management system, the ISO standard 2012-1, generating new information through authors and specialists about sustainability and how we can get there faster. And I think that's our core mission, is, you know, doing our best to help people get further faster. I'm a member of the Academy of Screen and Digital Printing Technologies in the US since 2018, which was a great honour to be allowed to join that group, which gives me access to some amazingly talented people. And also I sit on ISO TC130, the Printing Graphic Technologies Committee, which again gives me access to amazing talented people, colour scientists and people that frankly are far more knowledgeable than I am, but I suck in what I can, you know, it's amazing. So you can see just there some images of the type of work I've been involved in. It's very diverse, from interior design to luxury publications for Orient Express Group, to which that one was actually a collection of books case bound and bound in leather, wood, paper and fabric to represent the materials that were being used within this luxury hotel group. And believe me, they were a very, very exacting client. The same exacting standards were required when I was working in military electronics, because you really don't want to make a mistake when you're producing detonator circuits for shoulder launch missile systems. So FESPA's mission remains to be the leading globally connected imaging community, reinvesting our profits for the purpose of inspiring, educating and growing the industry. We do this through our Profit for Purpose program, whereby the profits that we make from international events like the Global Print Expo, European Sign Expo shows is reinvested into our community and into supporting content, events and information to share internationally amongst our partners. So since 2015, we've reinvested over 7 million euros back into our community. The size of our community, we have linked through our association network more than 14,400 businesses, and we've been supporters of over 200 activities since 2015 through our projects committee, which thankfully is restarting in a few weeks' time after, you know, the challenges of COVID. And our international reach is around 77,000 participants per year. Coming on to member benefits. So we have Club FESPA Online, discounts to events for members, the FESPA print census that we had a brief insight into yesterday, FESPA technical guides and white papers, the Club FESPA Lounge, which is where our members can network and meet one another and have a beer and something to eat and take the weight off their feet when there are trade fair events, and then FESPA's Planet Friendly Guides. Club FESPA Online is a resource that I think all members should take a look at. Now, it has more than 300 articles currently across a very wide range of topics, from very granular PDF considerations of how PDFs should be structured, through to bigger questions like circular economy and material innovation. But there is a wealth of information there. It is written in English, but it is available through machine translation into 34 languages, I believe, currently. I appreciate machine translation in technical matters is sometimes very funny, and it doesn't always work particularly well, but there is, I think we're seeing improvements that it makes it worth having a look. So please speak with your associations if you're not already doing so. The technical guides, this is the second edition of FESPA's technical guides. They are intended for, particularly for new starters, people that are coming to your businesses from other industries, or people that are younger and moving in, and you want to give them a sense of how things work. They are not technical guides for your technical director. They are, they're at a lower level, but they're a very useful resource. So I would also commend them and They provide over 500 pages of introductory information that you might see some value in. So on to how to create a lasting impact and how purpose-driven and transparent management prepares printers for a sustainable world. What does tomorrow's successful printing business need to do? I think we can all agree it must deliver responsive, cost-effective, high-quality printed products every time. It must demonstrate concern for people and for planet. This will attract talented and loyal employees and help customers with less embodied carbon in their products, so reducing their Scope 3 emissions. It must understand what customers need, and I think, I'm sure Rania would support this, that to be an educated advisor to clients, agencies like Rania's, because agencies have access to a big pool of printers, but not, you need the advice to come from us to you on materials and processes. And of course, we want to exceed the demands that are being made of us. This slide is going to be, if anyone can read this slide at the back, I have 50 euros for you, but you can't zoom in with your camera. I want to include this slide because it's about the fact that science is informing the significance of the problems we face internationally, and economists are working out new models that go beyond GDP growth. I think there's wide recognition that a world in which we are just constantly targeting creating more is not necessarily a goal that is one that we can realize. So I think it's looking at our business, thinking about the 9 planetary boundaries. So I did say I'm a geek. I have studied a course with the Stockholm Institute of Resilience on the planetary boundaries. And I did so because I wanted really to understand the threat that was present for us and how to understand the significance of certain factors, things like tipping points where climate change and biodiversity interact with one another to trigger unexpected consequences, and that is a fabulous source for information. And there's kind of nice pocket-sized videos that can give you a good sense of things, but most of us are already quite aware anyway. The other diagram that I have here is that from Kate Rayworth, who now the really good website, donuteconomics.org, and it has nothing to do with Krispy Kreme, I'm afraid. It is Kate Rayworth's viewpoint is that we are currently living outside of the ecological ceiling for what we're doing, and there are people who haven't got equality, haven't got enough food, education, well-being. So she's taken the model from the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the 9 planetary boundaries from the Stockholm Resilience Institute and combined them to provide this goal that sits in the middle where we can operate safely over time. So the objective is not to overshoot the planetary boundaries, and to draw people up from the bottom, people who are experiencing great inequality in life, to actually actively see the ways that we can contribute to making life better for them. So again, Donut Economics is, that website is full of case studies and guidance, and it's very approachable. I think some of the Stockholm Resilience Institute is it's very technical and quite challenging, but they're good resources, I believe. It won't surprise you that I'm also showing the UN Sustainable Development Goals diagram. It's in a different form to the last two speakers, so there's at least a bit of variety. But this is the logical framework. And I think, if we need a start point, getting to grips with sustainability is very involved. We want to communicate upwards to our customers about what we're doing. If we do it through using a framework that they're already using, then it makes perfect sense. You will be surprised if you look at it, there's a free iPhone app, there's a whole heap of stuff there that allows you to consider which of the Sustainable Development Goals you can contribute to. And I think if we start reporting our, I say here about impact, where we have an impact to either celebrate or improve upon. It will be the case that within your businesses already, there will be things that you can celebrate within this framework, but it also gives you the opportunity for reflection and looking at what you can do more of. So reporting in line with the SDGs is beneficial as the template is global and used by all larger organisations. And there's the web address at the bottom if you want to follow up after. So much of business goes on behind the scenes, and 1,000,001 factors go into building a company, selling a product and marketing a brand. But increasingly, there's this one issue that sits at the crux of consumer behaviour. Not how good the product or service is, but how good it is for the planet. It is a genuine concern, and if we see this is from Forbes just a couple of weeks ago, sustainability is more than just a buzzword. It's the backbone of decision-making for many customers, many consumers, particularly the next generation. And I think this is our opportunity that, comprising roughly a quarter of the world's population, Generation Z are, for example, in the US, and sorry, I haven't got a European reference point for this, expected to account for 40% of consumers once they come of age. Their motivations are drastically different from previous generations. They're less brand loyal, they're the first digitally immersed cohort in history, and they currently command a whopping $360 billion in purchasing power. I was looking when I was putting this together for different citations of that kind of snapshot the importance of next generation emerging attitudes for us as business leaders. And I speak of myself being of a certain age, that I need to let this sink in, because this is change that is coming, irreversible and threatening to our futures if we don't respond. I think beyond the dramatic differentiations, they're also the driving force behind a tectonic shift in consumer priorities. Approximately 3/4 of them make their buying decisions based on sustainability, not brand name. I don't know if, Rania, whether that's aligned with your experience. So we will continue to hear a variety of definitions of sustainability. The one that I tend to focus on is the UN definition, which is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Our extractive industries, we can no longer just be driven by wanting more, by producing more. We now need to be thinking about its relevant value without taking it from our kids. And here I've kind of got a diagram that I put together on people, planet, profit, and I say it in that order, that people are the first priority. Without us, we have no enterprise, we have We have no life. So and we need to be considering the positive and negative impacts an organisation has on its most important stakeholders. This, of course, includes our employees, their families, customers, suppliers, the broader community, and any other person that is influencing or being affected by the organisation. And I think very often we, because we're so busy, we think about the bit that's closest to us, but we don't necessarily think about the broader considerations. Planet, so in the centre of this diagram, the middle of the Venn diagram, of course, is the point at which we have a sustainable business because we're addressing the risks and those factors. In terms of planet, it's understanding the positive and negative impacts an organisation has on its natural environment. So I think most of us for many years have been careful with the discharge to the water course, the discharge to airborne pollution within our own facilities. But now we're really looking at a conservation mindset, the reduction of carbon footprint, the usage of naturally occurring resources, reduction of toxic materials and so on, but also the active removal of waste from our manufacturing. And fortunately with digital printing particularly, we can print what we need. We don't need to produce waste if we have our workflow in order. And then finally, profit. And I'll come on a bit to why profit finally. Profit is not the first responsibility according to the John Elkington's 3 Ps model. But even within profit, it's the positive and negative impacts an organisation has on the local, national and international economy. This includes creating employment, generating innovation, paying its taxes, wealth creation and other economic impact the organisation has. And I think it's worth noting that John Elkington, who was the original author, the creator of the 3 Ps model, he said that the model is to promote consideration of how capitalism must evolve to ensure that business is successful without benefiting from pollution for free or exploitative labour principles. It's also concerned with the profit and its broader impact. You could say, arguably, that the ultra-processed food sector, which, luckily in the Mediterranean region, you have, I think, much better attitudes to food than we have back in the UK and in the US, that there are unintended consequences. So they're highly profitable businesses, but they actually create massive costs further down the line in healthcare for dealing with the outcome of nutritionally, of calorie-dense, low nutritional value foods. That's just an example. So John Elkington has argued that the triple bottom line, another name for it, was intended to provoke deeper thinking about the future of capitalism and commerce. And the goal he seeks is to push forward this transformation so we have a more equitable and sustainable position. He wrote a book called Green Swans, The Future of Regenerative Capitalism, and it's an absolutely fascinating book. It's very approachable, and it's what I like about it is it's pro-business, pro-responsibility, or maybe I should say that the other way around. It's pro-responsibility, but pro-business at the same time. We need the things we produce. Okay, so what I wanted to do next was to think about, in the context of risk. So within businesses, we are under people where, we know we have skills development needs. We're seeing in the printing industry ageing workforce. We generally are seeing a low ability to attract young people to our business. I think it's fair to say, and I'm speaking from my experience in businesses, yours may be different, but my experience is that diversity is pretty limited. Attitudes towards equality, inclusion, I don't think are necessarily brilliantly developed in lots of smaller companies because people face a lot of other commercial pressures to get their products out, to keep the lights on. I understand that. Considering their value to society and not having any reporting to their wider stakeholder groups are particular issues, and these are all things that are raising risk. From a environmental management responsibility side, we've got carbon reduction plan, so energy measurement and management to reduce, understanding the role of electrification of transport, renewable energy and grid energy sources are all things that we're starting to do, but we're not necessarily where we need to be. Recycling of production waste, I know that's a favourite for everyone in the wide format and screen sectors where you're printing on a very wide range of materials, and it's very difficult to find waste management companies that will take the volumes of segregated waste that you can offer, because this is, again, it's developing, not there's not a final solution there. The end-of-life considerations, I'm sure, again, Ronnie, and sorry, I keep picking on you, but the clients, the retailers, they have the problem at the end of the use of the point-of-sale product, and they want better understanding of how to deal with that, because most of their emissions are coming from Scope 3, and they need to address that. Finally, at this point, for most people, yes, there are challenges with material supply costs, with labour costs. We're in an inflationary cycle in many economies, but profit and loss is generally a lower level of risk than the people and the planet factors. But investment planning needs focus, product development needs research, and usually, most people, I think, are financially reporting to shareholders and possibly staff, but it's maybe more limited. So my experience within implementing an ISO standard within FESPA is, built around the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, setting up swap PESEL risk registers. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy stuff, and I have struggled at points in the implementation program because it's change management. You have to win people over to get everyone on board, and it has to come from the CEO down to the last person who turns the lights off at the end of the shift. It's all of us. So what I wanted to do was to examine, in the short time I have, success planning and a consideration for a couple of different types of business owners. So small, medium enterprise business owners. I'm not pitching this presentation at your 100, 200 employee businesses, because they already have processes and strategies in place, because they have the scale to be able to do that. This is much more about what actually is the main component of FESPA associations and membership is small family-owned trading companies. So I think it's important to always remember, and I still have a printing business, so I know that you face many pressures and have to exercise choices across multiple topics constantly. You're always thinking, which is why Most of us end up working a good deal more than 40 hours a week. But how do we maintain profitability? Do we see advantage in planning our future sustainability? Can we focus time to build a strategy that will secure our future success? You know, there's a lot to consider. So I want to think about two different personas in this, and the characters are, you might see some resemblance to me. This is AI me, so I took my photo and the photo of a colleague and put them through DALL-E AI software to come up with these simulated people of Rob and George. Again, I probably spent too much time thinking about what their names should be, but I've moved on from that now. So I'm identifying them as being a planner, which is Rob, and a survivor, which is George. Rob knows that the business his father built needs a plan to develop. He believes that there's value to the business from implementing sustainable systems, but knows it won't be easy. He brings his team together and he sets goals that will take several years to realise. He knows his commitment will be tested and margins will be reduced in the short term. But he will succeed and he will win. On the other hand, George knows how to get through hard times. He made it through COVID-19 and is now meeting the current challenges of inflationary economics. He understands that climate change is a problem, but he's struggling to find qualified staff. However, he needs to cut costs to maintain margins. As customers demand lower prices of him, he's really busy, and the sustainable agenda isn't his first priority. But he's hopeful that new contracts will come. So in this slide, and throughout the next few slides, we'll see a kind of theoretical 4-year plan. Of course, it's ridiculously simplified for the sake of a short presentation, but I think you'll get the point that I'm making. So Rob, is this going to work? Okay, and I want to track their mood through this experience because Rob has the confidence to secure the future of his business. He's prepared to finance the longer term and recruit expertise to help him achieve his goals. His plan over 4 years is to reduce carbon emissions, save energy cost, implement a sustainability management system, and be able to report to stakeholders the value and purpose of the business. And you can see that it's not always a happy journey. There are points at which, in terms of the margin impact, you know, he starts at his 40% gross margin, and forgive me for the oversimplified financials. This is not a detailed financial analysis, that's for sure. But he's willing to sacrifice the gross margin in the short term, and the medium term is looking encouraging. Sorry, I'm just going to go back to this one. So the type of investments that he's considering, so Rob is, first of all, he's investing some money in consultancy. You know, the importance of having expert opinion, not doing all the discovery work for yourself is a great way to get there quicker. That produces the first project, which is energy reduction, which is looking at whether photovoltaic, solar renewables is a good proposition, and voltage optimization for the production facility. Attracts around 40k investment for the site, and then after that he's going to get the consultant back in because he's on a journey over time, and he's going to look at the transport emissions, for delivery of his product. So, of course, these, life is far more complicated than this, but then he wants to move to a certification scheme. So the cost to implement the scheme has to be considered, and then he wants to get, by 3 years' time, he wants to get to this point at which he's being audited by an external auditor so that he has validation from an external source. There's no point in just telling people how good you are if you cannot substantiate your claims with independent validation, because 9 times out of 10, customers won't believe you. And then finally, at the end of 4 years, he's thinking, I'm in good shape now, I'm going to now start investing in new kit. By which time, new kit's evolved, energy consumption is lower, and there are lots of advantages happening. George, on the other hand, is surviving, and he is looking at self-directed research, which I can say from my own personal experience is a hard journey, because that's where I started my research, and then I got to a point that I brought expertise in to support me because it was a bit much. But he's going to look at just energy reduction projects. So he's going to put in voltage optimization. It's a very low cost, but it's something he perceives that he can do. He's going to then put new equipment in a year down the road, and he's going to focus on, if I do it faster, that will be better. He then gets to a year and a half in, and his clients are saying to him, what about your sustainability policies? Where are you with this? And he's going, about that, I need to do something. So he then thinks, okay, I'll establish some policies and procedures, and then what I'll do is I'll get a sales and marketing consultant in. They can fix everything. They can make my life wonderful and bring in all the business, which, of course, generally doesn't happen. And then he'll look at transport emissions. But you can see a more cautious approach. And I'm not here to judge Rob or George. I just think they do represent things that certainly resonate from my experience. So, sorry, back to I should have explained that, because I realised that they're very pale, the investment programme. So we've said that Rob is willing to sacrifice his gross margin in the short term, and because he believes that the medium term things are going to get better for him. George, on the other hand, he's careful. You've got to give him credit. He's careful, but if his plans aren't fit to meet the customer need, he's going to lose revenue, and then he's going to lose margin. If we then look at the impact of revenue over time, Rob has front-loaded his business with investment cost. He's having to plan his strategic finance. So the first couple of years are going to be impacted. There's no doubt about that. He probably won't be buying a new Tesla anytime soon. But the good thing is he's got a path to reduce his emissions, saving costs through planned finance and building his revenue over time. And of course, by the time he's reaching year 3, 4, he's starting to be quite cheerful, because things are starting to happen. George, on the other hand, is remaining cautious, and he is maintaining margin because he's not investing in the same way. But the sales aren't increasing because his proposition's limited, and the clients are just not as motivated. And I think, again, Rania said earlier about this motivation, that who would you rather work with? Someone that clearly can demonstrate their consideration beyond profit and loss, or someone that is just out to make money. So George is all right, but, I wouldn't say George is a very happy man. And then if we look at the sustainability impact of this programme, we can see over time that things are really starting to move for Rob. The second unhappy face is the unhappy face I had when I started to realise the scale of work required for transformation, and I realised that this wasn't going to be a walk in the park, that there was going to be a lot of effort required. And that was on top of, and I'm speaking from my personal experience of FESPA, that's on top of everything else that I'm doing. But, you know, you pull your bootstraps up, get on with it, and then you start to make progress. And eventually, by the time you're getting further down the line in the 4-year sort of cycle, you're really starting to see the benefit of that endeavour. And I think it's worth noting that for many printers, you know, we spend a lot of time thinking about product quality, about how we improve the speed and efficiency of production, but it's this bigger picture, the holistic view. So George, at this point, his sustainability impact. So despite the fact that he's come into the game quite late, he's in reactive mode. He's got to do stuff because he's facing the loss of his clients. He's still not happy because he's been too cautious, and time has shown that he's been too cautious. So I want to look again at, this is the sort of the 4-year timeline on risk. And if we look at the people side, we've done some work. We've got skills matrix in place. We're hiring people more carefully. We know what we need in terms of business operations. We're able to attract new talent because we're an exciting enterprise to work for. There's a future here. This is something I want to be a part of. Business culture is open and respectful. You know, we've made progress on listening to people in our facilities, listening to their concerns, involving them, not having a top-down, I'm the boss, I'm making the decision, but having a more consultative process. And I know, you know, I'm sure all of you are already involved in these processes. But importantly, our employees are feeling valued, and we know that there are massive productivity gains to be got through that. Our business is supporting diversity, and it's even finding its way with supporting community activity through its staff. So its risk is lowered, which is great. From an environmental point of view, by this point, Rob has got his environmental management system in place. So whether that's ISO 14001, EcoVadis, you know, all one of many choices, he has a system in place and a management process that's working. He has transparent reporting in place for his stakeholders. So when his customers he gets to the end of the year, much as at FESPA, we're just about to, we'll release to our stakeholders our carbon footprint reports. And again, on carbon footprinting, I think the important thing is it's just the measurement point from which to look at the opportunities to reduce further. I think fundamentally the matter of carbon offsets, I think we have arrived at a point at which we know that carbon offsets are only to be used for the residual carbon that we cannot mitigate through reduction. And I think there has been a tendency over the last maybe 2-3 years ago to think, oh, it's fine, I'll just buy some carbon offsets, that gets me there. It just doesn't. So we've got transparent reporting for stakeholders. We've got the resource reduction is being monitored and measured internally. We've managed to achieve segregated recycling. Man, that was a journey. Life cycle assessments are in place, so we're considering the materials we use, their impact further down the line, and we really have a handle on the value of what we're actually printing and how we're servicing our market, and we can speak with expertise about the quality of our product. We can have passion for it. And then from a profit point of view, we've got we know what we're doing. Business strategy is documented and being measured and monitored. Our current profit and loss has started to improve. Investment planning is integrated into a strategic plan. Product development strategy is clear. Again, plan, do, check, act. So if we look at some milestones, the first milestone for Robert was to get his energy reduction, because that was going to be the thing that gave him more immediate benefit, both financially to the business, and especially at this time with energy cost being where it is, the more you can, the best kilowatt hour is the one you don't use. So he's managed to get to that milestone. He's using, he's got his energy management in place, less grid energy and more renewable sources in play. Then he's moved on and he's finally managed to get his external validation. So he's gained certification for sustainable business practice and built clear goals for reporting the waste reduction and the social value of his enterprise. And now this is the best bit of all. He now can tell the world about what he's achieved, and what a powerful story that is. He can tell people what he's doing and that he's on a path of continuous improvement. It's a virtuous achievement to get to that point, and now he's just focused on continuing. So my conclusion is that being sustainable isn't always easy. In fact, it's probably never easy, but it's worth it. We all know that without a healthy ecology, we won't have a healthy economy. By marrying the two together, you can make sure your business doesn't get left behind. So resilient and profitable printing business is only possible where it has the capability to invest in the longer term. Research your market, detail, SWOT analysis, pest analysis, risk register, get them in place. Build the business case to invest before you invest. Before a salesman, and no disrespect to any salesman, says to you, here's a nice shiny piece of kit, this is going to make you a huge amount of money if you operate it 24 hours a day for the next 3 months, you'll pay it off. Don't be seduced until you know what you're going to use it for and what the genuine benefits of it are. Be positive. Keep doing something you're going to enjoy, because if you're anything like me, I'm 40 years in and I'm still smiling. I'm still enjoying it. And finally, don't fall asleep at the wheel. Keep reviewing things regularly. Thank you. I got one more slide, sorry. Just for your information, on FESPA.com, there's the Sustainability Spotlight area. This is an area that we're building that has a mix of podcasts, video interviews, and articles around a whole wide range of sustainability issues. We're also fairly soon, and certainly for our colleagues who are coming to our General Assembly, going to be showing the first of our sustainability certification guide. So this first guide concerns itself with the global sustainability certification schemes that are being used by large international brands, so that when our customers come to us and say, we need you to report on these things, you're ahead of the game and you have an idea of what they're asking for. I'm done.